A fast-moving object the size of Manhattan is hurtling towards our solar system, and it will make its closest pass to Earth.
An interstellar object is hurtling into our solar system, not with the randomness of a wandering comet, not with the predictability of an asteroid, but with a purpose that chills every scientist who has looked at the data. For this mass the size of Manhattan, does not simply glide along the ancient highways of gravity but shifts its trajectory as if driven, as if guided, as if propelled by some unseen force. And the most terrifying hypothesis yet whispered is that this is no natural wonder at all but a nuclear-powered craft sent by an intelligence far older and far greater than our own to test how humanity will respond when confronted by something utterly beyond its comprehension. And the date of closest passage, December 17th, now hangs like a specter over the human race, a countdown not just to a flyby but to a confrontation with our own fragility. The announcement came through the steady voice of Michio Kaku, a man who has spent decades painting futures of wonder, colonization, and cosmic curiosity. But this time his word carried not hope but dread, and when he laid out the anomalies of the object called 3I Atlas, the silence in the room thickened. For what he revealed was not a collection of minor oddities but a body of evidence that shook the foundations of astrophysics. Its path is unstable in ways that natural forces cannot account for. Its speed fluctuates as if nudged by an internal engine. Its density is impossibly high, suggesting not loose rubble like a comet but forged alloys and constructed matter. Its emissions are not random flays of sunlight bouncing off ice but rhythmic pulses that echo like signals, timed in intervals that are eerily suggestive of intent. Each new observation deepens the enigma rather than dispels it, and the choice Kaku presented was stark. Either we are seeing physics operate according to laws we do not yet understand, or we are seeing an artifact, something designed. Imagine that for a moment. A structure large enough to blot out cities, built with materials beyond our periodic table, sliding into our system on a trajectory that defies calculation, adjusting course not with jets of vapor but with methods invisible to our instruments, and emitting pulses that might be the whisper of a machine or the heartbeat of a reactor. For centuries, we have lived under a sky that felt predictable, a clockwork cosmos whose laws could be charted by Newton and Einstein. And in that predictability we built confidence, built civilizations, built the illusion that the universe was stable and knowable. But now, with this one object, that illusion collapses. What if the universe is not governed entirely by the rules we know? What if there are systems, mechanisms, technologies, or forces moving quietly between the stars, passing through habitable zones, observing, recording, altering trajectories at will? The terror is not invasion, not war, not the apocalyptic spectacle of alien armadas descending from the heavens, but something colder and more unsettling: recognition. Recognition that we are not alone, recognition that our physics is incomplete, recognition that our strategies of defense mean nothing against what cannot be predicted, recognition that we may be the subject of someone else's experiment. A species observed in the way we once observed ants under glass. 3I Atlas forces humanity into a confrontation with humility. Its density suggests engineering. Its trajectory suggests intention. Its emissions suggest communication. If any of those are true, then we are staring into the abyss of a technology millions of years beyond our reach. A nuclear-powered craft capable of crossing interstellar gulfs would make our rockets look like toys, our supercomputers like abacuses, our weapons like sticks. And yet, here it is, drifting silently into our neighborhood, as if to remind us of our place in the hierarchy of the cosmos. Kaku's warning was clear: our models are broken. Every planetary defense system we have designed, every asteroid deflection strategy, every nuclear contingency assumes predictable targets, assumes natural behavior, assumes mass and density we can calculate and manipulate. But how do you defend against something that absorbs energy like a sponge, shifts course like a pilot correcting a flight path, and perhaps carries within it reactors, engines, or systems we cannot even name? We cannot. We can only watch. And in that helplessness lies the true terror. If this is only one such object, then how many others have slipped through the void unnoticed? If 3I Atlas exists, then perhaps dozens or hundreds like it wander the galaxy, slipping into systems, brushing past planets, altering orbits, seeding mysteries wherever they go. Humanity may not be facing a one-time anomaly but a class of cosmic actors, engineered or emergent, whose presence changes everything we think we know about cosmic order. For decades, our greatest fear was the random asteroid, the mass extinction bullet waiting in the dark, but randomness at least can be charted, mitigated, defended against. A deliberate actor cannot. The cultural shockwaves of such a revelation are incalculable. Religions might fracture as believers argue whether this object is a divine sign or demonic intrusion. Governments might conceal data or weaponize fear. Conspiracies will blossom in the cracks of uncertainty, and societies already fragile under the weight of climate, politics, and economics might shatter under the additional pressure of knowing that the universe has actors in it we cannot control. Imagine the chaos when the first patterns in its emissions are decoded, when the first fragments of information hint at a system of thought or design philosophy alien to ours, when the realization spreads that humanity is being observed, maybe even tested. And yet, alongside terror there is wonder, for within this object may lie the greatest scientific discovery in human history. Alloys that rewrite chemistry, propulsion systems that open pathways to the stars, energy systems that make fusion look primitive, entire sciences embedded in the structure of something built by hands or appendages, not our own. But to unlock that discovery, to reach out and touch it, is to risk unleashing forces we cannot contain. To ignore it is to retreat into ignorance and accept the gnawing question of what might have been learned. This is the knife edge on which humanity now balances, staring into the December sky and counting down the days. 3i Atlas is not just an interstellar visitor. It is a mirror held up to us, showing our fragility, our hubris, our readiness, or lack thereof. It is a reminder that the universe is not a stage for our ambitions alone, but a theater crowded with actors, props, and forces we have not yet catalogued. It is not fear-mongering to say that we are unprepared. It is simply fact. When Kaku revealed the data, the optimism drained from his voice because he knows what we all now sense. The laws we thought were permanent may bend. The safety we thought was certain may dissolve, and the cosmos we thought was predictable may instead be a wilderness filled with hidden machines, forgotten technologies, and intelligences that write their own rules. And as the world waits for December 17th, as telescopes tighten their gaze and satellites hum with data, humanity faces a future forever changed. For once you realize you are not the only actor under the stars, you can never go back to believing you are alone, never go back to believing you are in control, never go back to believing the universe is simple clockwork. The object whirls closer, the data grows stranger, the implications spread wider, and somewhere, perhaps, the builders, if builders there were, are watching to see how we respond, whether with fear, with curiosity, with defiance, or with silence. The test has already begun, and the outcome will not be written in equations alone but in the choices humanity makes in the face of the unknown. Framed as a natural anomaly, 3i Atlas could still shatter confidence in the very foundation of human progress, eroding the carefully cultivated optimism that technology will ultimately shield us from the blind chaos of the universe, and in that erosion lies a deeper terror. The loss of cosmic security itself, the unsettling realization that for all our satellites, equations, and algorithms, we remain at the mercy of forces we neither anticipate nor comprehend. And yet, the dread deepens. When we consider the possibility that the strange emissions emanating from this object are not mere byproducts of some unknown natural process but signals, perhaps unintentional, perhaps deliberate, broadcasting across gulfs of space with no regard for our comprehension, transmissions meant for someone, or something, other than us, leaving Earth in the eerie position of children who stumble across a letter written in an alien script, sensing the weight of its meaning while locked out of its understanding, and that exclusion gnaws at us, reminding us that knowledge is not a universal gift but a gate, and we are left outside, peering through cracks in the cosmic door, powerless to enter. The psychological strain of this realization forces us to confront fragility on a civilizational scale, for the first time in generations admitting that not everything in the sky can be catalogued, tamed, or reduced to equations. And that humility is tinged with dread because it confirms that our species is still young, still fumbling, still precariously exposed in a universe that spun itself into complexity for billions of years before we arrived. And in the presence of Three-Eye Atlas, the arrogance of assuming we are prepared for whatever lies beyond our atmosphere collapses, revealing instead the terrifying possibility that the stars may not be our destiny but our undoing. For if this object is a herald of unknown classes of interstellar entities, then our race toward the moon, Mars, and beyond is less a triumph of progress and more a blind migration into terrains filled with dangers no engineer, planner, or philosopher has prepared for. Risks not of vacuum and radiation alone, but of entities, forces, or technologies so far outside our grasp that our colonies could be swept away like sand castles before tides we never predicted. And the dread sharpens further if the object is ancient, engineered perhaps, and drifting for millions of years through galactic arms long before Earth saw its first spark of civilization. For that implies we are brushing against relics of intentions, designs, and purposes older than human memory. Artifacts whose builders are gone yet whose creations remain, still active, still influencing, like ruins too vast for us to even recognize as ruins. The implications stretch darker if Three-Eye Atlas is not unique but one of many, part of a network, a class, a system with functions we cannot fathom. Are they watches, relics, or natural mechanisms unknown to our physics? And in every possibility lies terror. If they watch, then we are not alone. If they are relics, then civilizations greater than ours have already risen and fallen, leaving behind tools that outlast them. If they are natural, then the universe harbors processes that dwarf even our boldest theories, revealing to us not a stable cosmos but one where the ground beneath our understanding is forever unstable, always ready to collapse into mystery. Even our language betrays us, cloaking horror behind neutral words like anomaly, emission, and density. Words that carry no true weight against the enormity of what they attempt to describe. And this linguistic poverty itself frightens because to lack words is to lack comprehension, and to lack comprehension is to lack power, leaving us helpless in the face of the vast. The silence of the object, its strange density, its ability to absorb more than it gives, hints at materials, structures, or organizations so foreign they feel engineered, yet if natural, even more terrifying for that very reason. Proof that nature itself contains architectures that mimic design. And though Kaku reassures that its trajectory does not presently threaten Earth, its erratic adjustments erase certainty. For what terror is greater than the possibility that such a massive, unknowable body could one day alter course toward our fragile system, repeating an amplified, incomprehensible form the cosmic impacts that have already toppled species, rewritten ecosystems, and reset evolution throughout planetary history. In that haunting possibility lies not reassurance but a new myth of catastrophe, one too vast even for imagination to properly contain. Worse still, the human response may prove as destabilizing as the object itself, for nations will not see only mystery but resource, potential, power, the temptation to weaponize or hoard knowledge driving secrecy and division, while cultures fracture into movements, interpreting it as divine, alien, or apocalyptic, until society itself begins to splinter under the strain of confronting something so strange that it destabilizes the very order of human meaning. But perhaps the most profound terror of Three-Eye Atlas is not the danger it poses but the vision it forces upon us, that the universe is not the orderly system we pretended it to be, not a cosmic stage awaiting our expansion, but a wilderness of anomalies, ruins, processes, and enigmas that care nothing for our presence. A place where stability is the exception and strangeness the rule. And to live with this truth is to live forever at the edge of comprehension, humbled not by what we know but by the immeasurable weight of what we cannot and may never know. A reminder that beneath the stars we are not conquerors but children, fragile, brief, and exposed, holding on to illusions of mastery while the cosmos drifts around us, indifferent, ancient, and terrifyingly alive with mysteries we were never meant to touch.